Here we have a word problem. The amount of time it takes a swimmer to swim a race is inversely proportional to the average speed of the swimmer. So let's set up a variable for this. So we're going to set up the time. We're going to call this t. So if t is equal to, when it says inversely proportion to the speed, so I'm going to call this v, like a velocity, so it doesn't confuse us with s. Sometimes they look like 5 when you use s. Okay, so we say t is proportion to, inversely proportion to the speed or velocity v. So when it's proportion, there's some factors involved. That factor here, we're going to usually call k for that. Use the factor k. So you don't really have to memorize this. You have to read the question carefully. If it's a proportional, inversely proportion, or directly proportion, you set up the equation with this factor of k. So if this were directly proportion, that would be t is equal to k times v. Because it's inversely proportion, with the k, then you will write this as t is equal to k, some factor k times 1 over v. 1 over v is inversely proportion. In order to solve for k, you need to read the question and see if you know any values, initial values for t and the speed v at that moment. So let's read the question, the rest of them. It says, a swimmer finished a race in 30 seconds. So if the time is 30 seconds, the speed or the velocity at that time is equal to what? 5 feet per second. So we just call it 5. So we can easily solve for k. Solve for k. So we need some initial condition to evaluate this constant k. So how do you solve for k, anyone here? You multiply both sides by what? 5. I multiply both sides by 5. Then I would get k. So what is k is equal to? 150. So now I know k is 150. I can write my formula as t is equal to 150 times 1 over v, or 1 over speed. So now I can solve for any other conditions I want. Here that wants you to find the average speed of the swimmer if it takes 25 seconds. So they're giving you time is 25. They're asking you to find the speed or the velocity. So here I want to solve for v. How do you solve for v here? Multiply both sides by what? You can it's kind of like a proportion here. If you cross multiply that, you get 25 v is equal to 1 times 150, right? Does that make sense? It's kind of like a proportion. It's 25 over 1 is equal to 150 over v. You can look at it as being a proportion. It's the same thing. These two are exactly the same, really. Okay, so how do you solve for v? v is equal to 150 over 25. So what is v is equal to? What's the speed? Dividing 25 into 150, what do we get? 6? Don't forget the units. It would be 6 feet per second. So which one would be the right choice here? C.